survive this thing called life. We're for the people, whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, folks, we're going on a detour from the phony glib, glitz, and glitter of regular commercial TV. Imagine a TV and radio network actually supported and guided by everyday Americans. People who, like you, are fed up, really care about their families, and want a chance at the long-lost American dream. The honest and hard-working citizens across the USA. The real heroes and heroines. Folks, this is your show. It's for the people.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people, for the people, for the people is there.
We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Hello there. Chuck Harder for the people. With me by telephone from way out west is David Tibodeau. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you may not know who David Tibodeau is, but you're going to very, very quickly remember the fire at Waco, Texas. David, you are a survivor. You were there for how many days?
Well, I had known Koresh and had been there for about a year and a half, 2 years. I'd known Koresh for almost 3 years, but I went through the 51-day siege, of course, which began with the big ATF raid on February 28th.
Were you were actually inside Mount Carmel?
Yes, for the 51 days, and I exited the building on April 19th when the fire began. Basically, I came out at the last minute.
How is it that you and I are having this conversation and you're not in jail? And we'll talk about Waco and we'll talk about the deaths and what have you, but how come you didn't get convicted?
Well, there was a number of people who were only held as material witnesses. A couple young males as well as myself. One was Derek Lovelock. He was held as material witness for a number of months, actually, before he was finally released to go back to England. Oliver Gyrfus Jr. was held as a material witness for a month or so, and he was released as well. I was in jail for about a week and a half, a week after the incident, and then I was released to my parents' custody and shipped off to Maine, basically, on the...
Wait a minute. What was different about you and the other members of the Branch Davidians at Mount Carmel? Why did you get out, and the rest of them either were barbecued or wound up in jail? The people would like to know that.
I understand.
Okay.
I don't know. I simply have to put it to the power of God,
okay,
and that there just must be some greater reason. When I exited Mount Carmel, I had every thought in my head that I was going to have a bullet in my head, that I wasn't going to be allowed to leave that building over the course of 51 days.
What would make you think that they would not let you out?
Well, because during the course of 51 days, I witnessed the FBI changing FBI negotiators on us so frequently. They went through 23 different FBI negotiators, I found out later. And also, just everything that occurred during the course of what is supposed to be the harmony of negotiations, it was just it was terrible. The FBI negotiators would promise us one thing, and then the tactical commanders would come in and have the tanks go closer to the property, or take a shed out, or move a vehicle or whatever, and they just totally went against what we were under the impression was to be.
So here's the FBI saying, "Oh, we love you. Everything's going to be wonderful." And here's Lloyd Benson saying to the people of the United States, "No more violence. Don't worry. If it takes forever, we'll let them in there until they walk out." But that's not what they had in mind, was it?
No, not at all. It appears under the guise of, come on out, we're going to help you, we're going to give you all these humanitarian efforts, we're going to treat you fairly. Yet in the press, we already had been thoroughly demonized. We really didn't feel we were going to get a fair trial, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just very untrustful. Everything that we were seeing was alluding to the fact that we were not going to get a fair trial, and that justice definitely was not going to be a factor. And let me tell you, being on the outside, seeing these people that went to jail for 40 years on these ridiculous charges, it's just insane. I have a letter here from the head juror, Sarah Bain,
Yes.
And this is a letter. I don't know if you've had a chance to read this.
I had her on our radio broadcast.
She's incredible. Yeah, to Judge Walter Smith.
Yes.
They were under the impression these people were going to be tried for aiding and abetting voluntary manslaughter. Of course, everybody knows that the conspiracy charge was done away with. There was no conspiracy.
Right.
And, you know, these people, the judge tried them on 10 years for voluntary manslaughter, certainly not for aiding and abetting voluntary manslaughter. And then he added in, after the jury went home, a weapons violation that was to be thrown out because it tied in directly to the conspiracy charge. There's no conspiracy, therefore there can be no weapons violation. Of course, he gave them 30 years on the weapons violation that the jurors didn't even believe was to be imposed upon them.
But David, the big thing that Mr. and Mrs. America don't understand is that the BATF agents who launched that invasion, and this was a planned invasion from day one. They never planned to peacefully serve a subpoena. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And the jurors, according to Sarah, and I'll have her on again, she and the jury were never told that the BATF agents were doing all of the things they did without legal authority. In other words, they didn't have the proper warrant to do that kind of an invasion or to break and enter. They did everything that they did illegally because they felt like it. They took the law into their own hands, and we understand that the judge hid that from the jury. Is that correct?
There's a lot of things that were hid for the jury, but yes, that is correct. They had a knock search warrant. They did not have a no-knock search warrant. Therefore, they were to come to the door and knock on the door. I don't understand how you can serve a knock search warrant with helicopters coming in at the back, firing at the people,
No.
two cattle-trailers coming up to the front. Of course, one team going to shoot the dogs first thing.
Hang on a minute. David Tibodeau, survivor of Waco. Don't go away. All right, we are back. David Tibodeau, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we got you hooked up here. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, there is a marvelous videotape that we have available called Day 51, The True Story of Waco. It is available through our organization. It is $19.95, $4 for shipping and handling, and you call the order center around the clock at 1-800-888-9999. So if you're tired of the pap and the pablum that you've gotten from the regular press, you might want to see this. There are stories now being run in newspapers. We see a clip every once in a while on TV. There's a number of things that the general public are being misled on. Number one, the general public are being told that Branch Davidians are getting together again and rearming. True or false?
That is a false statement. The Davidians at this point, and just to give a little history, I personally didn't know that I was a Branch Davidian until February 28, 1993, when I was dubbed that by the press, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
But because we've been in the press called Davidians, we are considered Branch Davidians now. But no, that's not a true statement. The survivors are spread throughout the country right now. Many of them have nothing. We're just trying to, contact the guys in jail and keep their spirits up and put our lives back together. The majority of the people aren't even armed. Most of them, of course, are older people. Those press releases, press reports refer to, of course, 3 individuals that are living up in Colorado.
Okay, who are they?
Well, that's Ron Cole, Wally Kennett, and a friend of Ron's. And basically, Ron Cole came into this whole thing after the firefight, after the place burned to the ground. He was very, very concerned with what had happened, just as an American.
But was he ever inside?
No, he was not. He was not inside.
All right, so he was not a Branch Davidian, so to speak.
No, but he has what Ron has done is he's uncovered a lot of information. He's done very impressive investigative work through all this, and he's also adopted the biblical teachings of Koresh. We've been giving him studies, and he's come along quite well, and he can see everything scriptural, that everything had a scriptural origin. And as far as Wally Kennett is concerned, he left the organization in 1992, so he wasn't there through the course of the 51 days. But after the fact, he came back. We of course befriended him.